When you see somebody has exposure to these toxins, to heavy metals, et cetera, what sort of things are you recommending patients do this so they can eliminate these things? Do we have certain therapies, sauna therapy or chelation therapy? Are you kind of going down that path? Or are you leaning more towards just avoiding the exposure of them and just identifying that they're present and then eliminating them? What type of treatments and therapies do you see the most success with?
Right. So first of all, like knowing what kind of toxins people have, and then, like deciding on what is the best course of action. But doesn't matter what toxins they have. The first thing which I do is that I optimize 5 different detox channels that we all have in our body. So the 5 detox channels, the first detox channels is, as you said, is the sweating. That's where the saunas are very helpful. Infrared saunas do a wonderful job in kind of eliminating the toxins in a more natural fashion. So that's the one thing that, I recommend my patients to do. The second way we detoxify is through our gut. So I optimize everybody, for having at least 1 bowel movement every day so that we can eliminate those toxins through our gut, optimizing the gut channel. The third thing is the kidneys. So making sure people are drinking enough water so that you can eliminate those toxins from the kidneys also. The fourth, that we have is through our lymphatic channels, which is again the most underappreciated, detox channels that we have. But dry brushing is a good way of helping people to kind of detoxify through the lymphatic channels. So that's something that we do. Sometimes people have access to special kind of massages, then we can always do that. But dry brushing is a good way of doing it. And the last one is the liver. So liver is again a master detoxifier. So again, we have to optimize liver for doing that. We can start with some detox, detox teas with them, green tea is a good way to detoxify. There are certain supplements like glutathione, which is also good, support the liver. Curcumin is another one, which is good for that. So some of the supplements, we start them for doing that. So these are the 5 basic things that each and every person, doesn't matter which toxins they have, I always recommend doing them so that they can get started on it. But then after that, depending on which, let's say if they have heavy metals, then we start doing specific therapies to remove the heavy metals, which is like chelation or other things for that. Mold is actually much more difficult to treat, because mold, only just doing the detox doesn't work for them. Mold actually hides in people's body. So we have to work on their biofilms. Mold actually causes a SIRS kind of situation, which is called CIRS, chronic inflammatory response syndrome. So we have to work on the SIRS, actually bring it down. So we need to work on that also, the biofilm, as well as, we have to actually work on killing the mold from the system. So that is a little bit more complicated and takes a longer time.
Yeah, I think actually you've brought up a really good point here, and that is the detoxification sort of pathway. And I actually really appreciate what you've talked about here, these 5 ways that you can eliminate things. I think, as you mentioned, it's a huge problem for lots of patients with Hashimoto's, and really, really, really underappreciated in terms of its benefit and effectiveness. I actually recently purchased a far infrared sauna. Is that the sauna therapy that you're generally recommending? Is it far infrared or steam?
Yep. No, far infrared. If they can afford it and they can get access to far infrared, that is much, much better than the regular saunas.
Yeah, that's my belief as well. I think the far infrared has deeper penetration and helps with detoxification. And it's been amazing. And so I think that a lot of people underestimate how many things they're coming into contact with that just need to be eliminated on a daily basis. Regular things, lotions, soaps, detergents, all the things that you put in your body. I think people have a tendency to think, well, I didn't actually ingest it, therefore it didn't go inside my mouth, therefore it's not in my body. But we have transdermal absorption of things, right? Things go through lotions, creams, makeup even. All these things have certain chemicals in your body, and people this detoxification pathway sort of has this woo-woo sense to it, where it's like, oh, well, this isn't a real thing. It's like, or in other words, your body can take care of it. And I think for a lot of people, that's true. But because of the variance in genetics, there are some people who are just naturally going to be slightly less, they're not going to be as good at eliminating these things as other people. And these are the people that are going to accumulate these things over a period of time, which is probably why, after 20, 30 years of just small amounts of accumulation, it just builds up to a point that then it becomes a problem. And so the detoxification pathways that you mentioned, I think are really underappreciated. And I really like that you talked about the lymphatic channels as well, because being an osteopathic physician and doing a lot of osteopathic therapy, manual therapy, I can appreciate the lymphatic channels as well. And those are really, really underappreciated by most people, because doctors will talk about arteries and veins, but the lymphatic channels are there. This is anatomy 101, right? And I don't know if you guys talked about it in family medicine, like in residency or not, but I don't think it's really talked about unless you have, cancer or radical mastectomy that resulted in, lymphatics being taken out and you have lymphedema or something like that, right? Like, I don't think it's really talked about in conventional medicine unless you can think of a situation in which it is.
No, it is not ever talked about it. We always learn about it in med school. Okay, this channel exists, but then suddenly it just goes away. Because pathology, we know about it, and okay, well, it's just a useless channel. Let's just forget about it.
Yeah.
Unless you said, there is a big lymphedema, issue that happens with that, or maybe in some cancer patients where the lymphatic channels are important. But again, there is nothing done to improve them. Basically, they just looked at them and then kind of again, for lymphedema, definitely, there are good therapies which are available. But otherwise, we just don't pay attention to it.